Hello and welcome to another episode of On the Topic. The year's just started, but I seem to be wishing it away. I'm Alex.
And, well, there's plenty to look forward to. I'm Dan.
And this week, Dan, we are revisiting our old faithful annual episode of Most Anticipated, what we look forward to in the next 12 months across all facets of popular culture. But before we dive into that and we get ourselves all messy and covered in books, games, comic books and the rest of it, what have you been up to?
Well, apart from working for the man, been diving into a lot of streaming services and watching a lot of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So I've already burned through Cobra Kai Season 4, which we'll no doubt talk about in a couple of weeks or so. Very, very good. I'm very excited. Apparently Season 5 has already been announced. It's finished filming. And there's talks of it being a summer release. So I'm highly anticipating that one, but it didn't make my notes for a very good reason that we'll be reviewing that. I've been watching The Witcher Season 2.
Oh, yeah, I haven't started that yet. Any good?
It is quite good, actually. It's a bit more linear compared to Season 1, which we sort of talked about. This would have been pre-pandemic. Christ, seems so long ago now. Only 3 episodes in, but it's very good. And Henry Cavill grimes up quite well. He's still a handsome bastard as a Witcher.
Of course he does. And of course we were talking before where he's actually a fan of the content. So he isn't just acting it. He's having the best time of his life. So hopefully it shows through on the TV screen.
Indeed. And on Disney Plus, I've been watching a series called Dope Sick, which is about a painkiller called OxyContin. It's very, it's quite bleak. So you have to be in the mood to watch it, but it's very fascinating. So it's about a drug called OxyContin, and it's sold across America as the idea that it's not addictive. But of course, people become addicted to it. They start dying on it. It's very good. Apparently, it's based on true events, Alex. Fantastic cast. Acting is on point. It's got Michael Keaton in it, who does a fantastic job.
Yeah. I mean, the content sounds bleak. I know it is based on real world struggles of people in certain parts of America. So I guess that's perhaps why I don't tend to steer towards the sadder storylines. But I know that it's also quite educational and informative.
So definitely one that I would recommend. I think it's only like 8 episodes, but if you've got Disney Plus, dive in. But other than that, Alex, that's it for me since we last recorded. What about you? What have you been up to?
Beautiful. Well, I don't think I shared in the last couple of episodes. So we recorded in odd orders. So I picked up an Oculus, a virtual reality headset for Christmas. Very lucky, and be getting to grips with that, Dan. I've enjoyed having my own personal tranquil space. I've been in space, not really. I'm not Jeff Bezos or Richard Branson, but I've been on the ISS, been traversing around, and I must say I've noticed that I've got a little bit VR sick. I'm not sure if there's an actual term for it, but your body obviously tells you you're not doing those things, but it's so immersive, it really throws you. And the first time I had that when I was traversing 0G in the International Space Station. But what I'm really enjoying, Dan, actually is probably not what they've actually designed the Oculus for, at least not the primary function, which is just watching films and TV streams through it. So if you open a video, say in your browser, there's depth to it, but you can resize the screen to be like a 60, 70, 8-inch TV, and you can sit as close or as far away. And it's really, really something else, to watch any film that you want on a slightly curved angular TV in your own personal space. It's really fascinating. What to watch? Big Hero 6. Have you seen that on Disney Plus?
I saw it at the cinema when it came out, which would have been way back in 2015.
It's one of my favourite Marvel Disney films. I don't think I've ever said that or shared that with you, Dan, but it really is. It doesn't make my MCU list because obviously it's not in the MCU, but it's so well made, and the artwork's phenomenal. I think it's DreamWorks, is it? It does it. And watching that on the Oculus on like a 60-inch TV is just brilliant. So yeah, really enjoy watching TV through it, which is probably, as I say, not what old Facebook giants were thinking when they sold it to me. But anyway, it's good stuff. Other than that, Dan, as you say, just working. January, it's always a bleak month, so you got to enjoy what little you can. So yeah, much the same. Streaming TV.
Awesome stuff.
Indeed.
So this is like one of my one of those episodes I just love to get round to. We've been doing this every year since we started podcasting.
Yeah, and I think it's a good way just to kind of look forward, especially in the last couple of years, right? And just go, right, what is it that I'm looking forward to? January's a bit of a pants month, guys, isn't it? So let's be optimistic. Let's see what we can look forward to. And as such, we've been busy over the last couple of days, haven't we? Researching, seeing what's in and around, and our subject matters as per usual. Another one this year. I'll put all the other ones in the description below, just in case you want to get an idea of what we're doing. But we've got films, we've got games, and we've got TV streaming. Have you got any music, Dan, for you?
A couple of albums. Nothing sort of... It looks a bit quiet this year, but I feel like the pandemic's probably hit music as much as, say, the other bits of pop culture. Yeah.
So what we'll do is we'll walk through. We'll give you all the information, the dealo, and when you anticipate them coming, why we're excited for it, and where you can get your feasty eyes all over this content. Dan, what should you start off with? What subject matter do you want to kick us off?
Let's start off with films. Nice. So for another year, I've challenged myself not to choose an MCU film. So nothing like Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, Thor, Love and Thunder, and Wakanda Forever, because that goes without saying that this is where the podcast started. It's our bread and butter. But, you know, I like the challenge every year of finding a film that isn't from Marvel Studios. So I'll kick things off with Death on the Nile, which comes out on the 11th of February.
Oh, okay.
Now, this is a sequel to 2017's Murder on the Orient Express, which is also based on Agatha Christie's book.
Oh, okay. So that was a reboot, modern take on the classic. It's not a modern take, actually. It's just modern actors, isn't it? It's still based in early 20th century, I think.
Yeah. So the brief synopsis is: the peace and tranquility that was temporarily present on the SS Karnak is destroyed after one of the passengers is found murdered. Renowned Belgian detective Hercule Poirot is entrusted with the important task of identifying which one of the passengers is the killer before they strike again. Really good cast. Fantastic cast in place. So Kenneth Branagh returns as Hercule Poirot.
Brilliant.
And then we've got Tom Bateman, Annette Bening, Russell Brand, Ali Fazal, Dawn French, Gal Gadot, Armie Hammer, Rose Leslie, who you'll remember from Game of Thrones.
Oh, yeah.
Emma Mackey, who you'll be familiar with from Sex Education. Sophie Okonedo, Jennifer Saunders, Letitia Wright, who I believe is in Black Panther, and Anne Turkle. So, I mean, going all out there.
Quite heavy there, Dan, actually, isn't it? There's lots of comedy type or comedians. That's their title, comedians. Alex, come on. Lots of comedians, female comedians, but also just Brit talent in there, which is interesting.
Yeah. So, I mean, me and my other half loves Murder on the Orient Express. So we're obviously looking forward to the follow-up, Death on the Nile. So, as I said, that comes out on the 11th of February.
Brilliant. I like that one. Bit left field. Where can we watch the Murder on the Orient Express? Is it on a streaming service at the minute, do you know?
I'm not too sure, actually. Didn't look to put that into my notes, but I'll find out. I'll get the old Google on while you go for your film. So your
Yeah,
first
why
one.
not? Because I saw it and then I think it was on Prime. Other streaming services are available that we'll talk about. And I thought, yeah, I don't really want to pay for it though. Cheapskate that I am, I'm willing to wait. So if it is out there, I'll get on it. Good one, Dan. Thank you very much. I guess similar to you, I haven't gone for MCU, and I had a couple of left field for the last 2 years. This one I'm going to kick off with is not MCU proper, but I am actually genuinely interested and looking out for this film. So I'm going to kick off, Dan, with Morbius.
Oh, good shout.
And that's only because I've got to give myself some leeway here. So bear with me, guys. Yes, it's a superhero film, kind of. It's an anti-hero type role going on. But it has been postponed 4 times, Dan. So it was originally the 1st of April. Now it's 1st of April, should I say, this year, 22. It was supposed to be this month, 28th of Jan and the 21st of Jan. Then going back, it was October 21. Then it was March 21, because it has been pushed back progressively. And the recent pushback, they think, is because No Way Home is just continuing to bulldoze and smash through cinema releases. So why would you then release your rival Sony picture? You wouldn't. So they're going to give it a little bit more time, let Tom Holland break some more bank, and then let Jared Leto have his go. Now, a synopsis, if you're not familiar with Morbius, guys, I think we talked about it before, but biochemist Michael Morbius tries to cure himself of a rare blood disease. But when his experiment goes wrong, he inadvertently infects himself with a form of vampirism instead. He's also referred to as, I think, the living vampire or the likes. Now, I think, Dan, I'm going to go on a limb here, but say we were both introduced to this character in the Amazing Spider-Man TV show in the 90s.
Yeah. I think that actually came up in our favourite cartoons back in 2019's episode.
Yeah, good shout. And he was an interesting character, wasn't he? He was flitting around the edges. It's quite gross, with suckers in his hands and the rest of it. It's quite, for, young Alex, age 8 or 9, seeing that was a bit freaky. I wouldn't say I was scared, but I didn't like the concept, obviously. So it's interesting, actually, they've chosen that character out of all of the Marvel back catalogue that Sony's obviously purchased from the Spider-Man side of things to bring to life. And they are portraying it almost like the anti-hero, as in, yeah, okay, he kills people, but he can't help it and he's trying to be a better man, that kind of jazz. It does star Jared Leto, to say, I think this is a real opportunity for him to right some wrongs done to him from DC. We talked about it before in terms of the way which, he was dealt with Joker. He's a method actor, and he spent an awful lot of time getting into the mindset of what is, an insane killer. So it took his toll on him, and only for him to be reduced down to what was, 3 minutes of airtime at that. So hopefully Jared Leto sees some justice, but alongside him, reprising his role as a version of the Vulture is Michael Keaton, of course, that we saw from Homecoming in the MCU. We've got Doctor Who alumni Matt Smith and Fast and Furious alumni Tyrese Gibson, amongst others. And half the people have been scouring the trailers that are now out, of course, been out for a while now, but the latest trailer. And whilst this hands down does have a link to a Spider-Man universe, they actually think, Dan, it's Garfield's.
Oh, we were saying this, weren't we? That we'd love to see another Garfield film.
100%. It's because the posters where Morbius walked past, it's Garfield's suit. It's not Holland's suit. Yes, they throw the curveball of a Michael Keaton saying, as they're passing each other, I guess in prison or something, Keaton says to Leto, I'll be seeing you. We want to catch up. But that's not to say that version of the Vulture is our version. Because as we know, there's doppelgangers all across the universe. So it might be that we actually see Michael Keaton's version of Vulture, but in the Amazing Spider-Man universe. And I think you also mentioned Venom. So it might add some clarity actually to what Sony's actually building, but still allow us to be able to traverse different multiverses at different times. Go figure, Amy Pascal and Kevin Feige. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. the reason why I'm looking forward to it so much is anticipated because it's just been delayed for so bloody long. But I think Jared Leto is a phenomenal actor. He's not a bad singer. He's a better actor, in my opinion. And I'm really looking forward to this one. I think it's going to be different. It's going to be able to stand up in his own. And if he does it right, he'll be able to kick off what should be quite an interesting, different take. It's almost like the Blade from, the late 90s, early 2000s, gritty, dark, more of an adult type tone. So, yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, that is a good shout, actually. So I did have a look on the old Google.
Oh, yeah, tell me.
Death on the Nile can be found on Disney Plus.
No way.
Yeah, so it's on there, probably through Star.
Let me quickly do a quick segue. My wife's a big reader. She loves books. Got quite a few for Christmas. That's a bit of the context. I am more of a TV guy. I can read. I have enjoyed many a book. I just tend not to use that as a way to unwind at the end of the day. Probably should do. She's read a really good book. In fact, it is an Agatha Christie. And she said, this book's so good. I think you should read it. I said, okay, if I read it, you got to watch a film with me. She doesn't like films. If it's not 90s chick flick, she ain't interested. So films that she's seen before. Bar one film I'll talk about in a little while. But by and by, she doesn't watch films. So she said, yeah, okay. Read the book, I'll watch film. So I think I'm going to sit her down and we're going to watch Death on the Orient Express. That'll be my film that I introduce her to.
Yeah, good shout.
So, I'll bank that one and I'll use it up on that film because actually I'm looking forward to it as well. I'm sure it's something that she won't mind watching. So, yeah, it's a good shout there, Dan.
Talking of House of Mouse.
Oh, yeah.
My next most anticipated film of the year is Lightyear, which is due out on the 17th of June. Now, the first time I saw the trailer for this, it genuinely gave me goosebumps. And not many film trailers do that to me.
Oh, wow.
So I thought, do you know what? If that's giving me goosebumps, then surely that's a sign that you probably need to go to the cinema and see it. Not much of a synopsis, so still very little unknown about this film. But the upcoming American computer animated science fiction action film produced by Pixar animation House of Mouse is about Buzz Lightyear. Now, this revolves around the character who inspired the action figure in the Toy Story films. All we know is Chris Evans is the voice of Buzz Lightyear.
Not the ginger-haired comedian from the UK.
No, we're talking about the Captain America.
Yes.
And also
the guy with America's Arse.
The one with America's Arse. And the guy that was also in Knives Out.
Indeed.
Did a great job in that. But we also have Taika Waititi.
Oh, right. The director turned actor.
Yes, he is in an undisclosed role. So we don't know much more than that. But like I say, if a trailer's giving you goosebumps, then I'd say that's pretty much a good sign that you should go see it.
Yeah.
Have you seen the trailer yet, Alex?
I have. I think a lot of kids will watch that and go, I want to go and see it, but I don't think it's going to be for kids.
Yeah.
I've got that sense it's a darker kind of origin story because it's got that tone which I'm trying to think of what it's akin to. And maybe it isn't. Maybe it is that unique, but that I can't put my finger on what it's similar to, and that's not a bad thing. But the way at least they're presented doesn't look like it's, like a usual Disney Pixar, family friendly, jokes every 2 minutes, feel good. This is dark, gritty, quite sci-fi heavy. I really like the look of it. I think it looks really unique and quite an interesting thing to flesh out.
So yeah, very excited for that. But I've only got 2 more films, but I would be very surprised if one of them isn't on your list.
Okay. Well, I'll disappoint you, Dan. I think Jurassic World Dominion.
Yeah, that made the list.
Oh, bingo. You got it. Hit the bingo card.
10th of June.
It is. 22. Is this on your list too?
It is on my list. I mean, it goes without saying.
Okay. Well, perhaps we can tag team this one then. So for those who aren't perhaps au fait with Jurassic World is the third official long-running film of this rebooted franchise. It's the franchise that Dan and I have a common love interest of. There's plenty of episodes in a nice way covering different aspects of the original films. The anniversary one, which was brilliant for lockdown. One of the best birthdays I've had, actually. I spent it with you, mate. It was in the cinema.
Yes.
It was magical.
Yeah, 25th anniversary.
It was. And then we then did it behind the scenes, I think, lockdown 2020. Anyway, this is the third outing of the reboot with Chris Pratt. And the film is actually set 4 years after the events of the prior film, Fallen Kingdom, of which, still to this day, Dan, gets some very good downloads and streams. I don't quite understand why. It's quite an older film, but let's not question the numbers. The numbers continue to go up. So whatever it is, if you haven't listened to it, listener, what are you doing? Because hundreds of other people seem to. So stop what you're doing. Go watch the film. Go listen to our review, and then come back. And at this point, you've pressed play after pausing it. So welcome back. So set 4 years after the events of that film, in which genetically engineered dinosaurs were auctioned to companies around the world, while others were released on the US mainland. I think they're more escaped than released, but anyway. The story takes place around the world and depicts humans dealing with invasive dinosaur species. Or at least that's so the synopsis tells us. It doesn't tell us a little bit any more than that, but it's bad times for the human race. We've now got to share the planet, whereas before they were just confined to an island or set of islands. Now, have you got who stars in this, Dan?
I do. So Chris Pratt returns as Owen Grady. Bryce Dallas Howard returns as Claire Deering. And then we've got some old familiar faces.
Yeah.
Sam Neill as Dr. Alan Grant. Very excited. Laura Dern as Dr. Ellie Sattler. Jeff Goldblum, my boy, the legend, returning as Dr. Ian Malcolm. Daniela Pineda as Dr. Zia Rodriguez. I think she was in the second one, wasn't she? Was she the one that was doing the blood transplant?
Yeah, she's also in Cowboy Bebop.
Oh, really?
You watched any of that on Netflix?
No, I didn't get good reviews from what I've heard.
Ignore the reviews. Ignore the reviews. It's one of the ones I would say just ignore it. It's an animated live action. If you're into anime, you probably don't like the live action version because there's only so much you can do. But I really liked it. It has John Cho as the lead. I thought the tone was a little bit odd because it's kind of like Wild West, a bit like what's it called? Firefly. It's that kind of Wild West cowboy and space feel, but it's really good. It's funny. It's totally on point, and I really enjoyed it. But yeah, it got cancelled after one season, despite the reviews, which I thought was odd. But anyway, she's in it as one of the lead actors, and she does a phenomenal job in that series. And yes, I do believe she's back as the lead living paleontologist vet, or whatever she called herself in that film.
We've also got Justice Smith as Franklin Webb, Isabella Sermon as the clone, Macy Lockwood, and Omar Sy as Barry Sembin. Yeah,
so I think for me, why it's so anticipated is what you just said, Dan. Sam Neill, Laura Dern, Jeff Goldblum. Because we saw a bit of Jeff at the beginning, at the end. He bookmarked the last film, but that was more, I think, paying lip service. They're actually in this one. So the OG cast are coming back and actually having meaningful roles. At least that's what we've been told. And I think also for me, it's the setting. So we're no longer going back to the island. We've done that 7 times before.
Yeah.
And we saw a little bit of this actually when we did the Jurassic World short Battle of Big Rock.
Yeah.
So again, guys, if you haven't seen that, I'll put a link in the below. It's free to watch. I think it's 7 minutes or 8 minutes of bona fide film. It's not like, a fan film or fan made. It's a legitimate. Kevin Trevorrow is the director. He's literally gone, there's some time between this film and next one. I'm going to go and share something with the guys. And it's all about following a family. And they're now in this situation where there are dinosaurs roaming wilderness and they're camping. It's a really good shot. So this expands. We've all done a tidbit. We've now got a much expanded film to play with. And I loved that short. And we enjoyed reviewing it. I'm really looking forward to this down for all those reasons above.
Yeah, I think you can watch the beginning of the film as well. It's only like 5 minutes,
Oh, I
if
won't
that.
though.
Doesn't give a lot away, but yeah, it's very fascinating. Me and the missus watched it just before Christmas.
Ooh.
I say
So
only
yeah,
5 minutes. If you so it doesn't give a lot away. There's not any spoilers or anything like that. But obviously, if you're keen like Alex to wait until it comes out of cinema, avoid it.
I think this time I will. And as you said, Dan, 10th of June. It's a summer film. Looking forward to it.
So my final choice is a Marvel film,
Oh, okay.
not MCU related.
I think I know what this is.
It is a Sony film. It is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse Part 1.
Yes.
So this comes out on the 7th of October.
It does.
Now, again, we don't know too much about this film. All we know is that Miles Morales / Spider-Man goes on an adventure across the multiverse with Gwen Stacy, aka Spider-Woman, or unless you're au fait with the comics, Ghost Spider, and a new team of Spider people who must face a powerful villain. Now, Sony began developing Across the Spider-Verse before Into the Spider-Verse's release in 2018, with the writing and directing team attached. It was set to focus on the relationship between Morales and Steinfeld's Gwen Stacy. Now, again, it's quite a good cast, Alex, but we do see some reoccurring faces. We've got Oscar Isaac as Miguel O'Hara as Spider-Man 2099, who we saw in the cutscene at the end of the previous film. Shamik Moore returns as Miles Morales. We've got Haley Steinfeld as Gwen Stacy, who was also Kate Bishop in Hawkeye, which we'll be reviewing very soon. And of course, Jake Johnson returns as Peter B. Parker, who's the older, disheveled version of Spider-Man. Issa Rae as Jessica Drew, Spider-Woman.
Yes.
And Jesus Christ, they've done it to me again.
Uh-oh.
Takuya Yamashiro, who was the Japanese Spider-Man from the 1978 Spider-Man series.
Oh, no way.
He's going to be in it as well.
Oh, cool.
If you want to sort of learn a bit more about the Japanese Spider-Man, dive in on Disney Plus and watch Marvel 616. It's about 8 episodes, but the first one is about the Japanese Spider-Man. And I tell you what, there's something very endearing about that series if you haven't watched it. So definitely go watch that. I recommend it. But Alex, have you got any more films?
Yeah, one more, and then some honourable mentions. So Knives Out 2, Dan, was my final one.
Oh, good shout.
Knives Out 2. It's funny that you mentioned it before. So it is due out this year, but it's to be confirmed. Now, it's got a very small budget. It's about 30 million. So it's probably going to follow very similar kind of trainers as the first one, which it really only took place in a couple of different scenes. It wasn't, globe trotting by any means. But the untitled sequel to Knives Out back in 2019 is known as colloquially Knives Out 2, is, of course, an upcoming American mystery film written, directed, and produced by Rian Johnson. So Daniel Craig reprised his role from the original film as Benoit Blanc, and Master Detective taking on a new murder case. Stars Craig, as I mentioned, Madeline Klein, Catherine Hahn, who we know, comedian Gold Dust in a minute, a lot of people want her time, and Dave Bautista, which is an interesting ad. Now, I am anticipating it. Why is it anticipated? Because actually Knives Out was a great film. We've talked about it, I think, a couple of times over the last year or two. Not to any great degree, but I think we both talked positively about it.
Yeah, so good.
It's such a good, well-directed, very well written, and such a really good twist at the end, to the point where in the final scene, you really don't know who's done it until they're wielding a knife and lunging again. And, when whodunits are seen as dull, this film, or what could be these films, breathes new light into an old genre. If you said to people, what do you enjoy in the film, say action or comedy or romantic, this or that, or drama, no one says a whodunit. And I think for me, Knives Out did that.
Yeah.
It made people sit up and go, actually, this is a really interesting film and it's new and it's different. So I'm looking forward to the second one. That's my third biggie. But just a couple of honourable mentions. So interesting enough, you haven't mentioned this one, but you did at the beginning. So Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness is out on the 6th of May. Of course, we're going to love it. And of course, we're going to see it. So I wasn't going to give any airtime to that. And as you said, Across the Spider-Verse Part 1, 7th of October. They're my two honourable mentions. And of course, I didn't want to give them too much time because we are going to review the backsides of them. So those are my films, Dan.
Awesome. So I've got, not honourable mentions, but according to Rotten Tomatoes, we could have also chosen Uncharted.
Yes.
The Batman.
Yes.
Sonic 2. Top Gun Maverick. One of our favourite films. Fantastic Beasts, The Secrets of Dumbledore.
Yep.
I should be kind because one of our listeners did write into us about that one. Avatar 2, Black Adam, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, and The Flash. So a very heavy superhero year, both Marvel and DC. Where do you want to move on to next, Alex?
TV?
Let's do TV.
TV streaming.
Okay. Do you want to start this one?
Yeah, let's do it. Straight off the bat, not mucking around. Stranger Things Season 4.
Ooh.
Streamed on Netflix, Dan. If you haven't watched Stranger Things, this isn't going to mean an awful lot to you. Probably think it's worth putting a spoiler klaxon in, Dan.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's dust the old klaxon off.
Here it is. And the reason being is, listen, the reason why I put it in there, if you're still here and you haven't seen it, beware. It is a really good show. I didn't want to get onto the bandwagon, and I think Dan and I both talked before about how when people say, "Oh, you must watch this," we actively go, "No, we're not going to. We're not going to follow the crowd." I got on board on its release, season 1, and I've loved it since. And the last season was very, very good. I mean, who doesn't like the Never-Ending Story duet? I mean, that's just brilliant. That's genre defining. The season 4, Dan. So the synopsis is Hopper is imprisoned far from home in the snow wasteland of Russia, where he will face dangers both human and other. Now, meanwhile, back in the States, a new horror is beginning to surface, something long buried, something that connects everything. That's all we've got so far, and that's because they can't give too much away. They know what we're like, and we tend to spoil things for ourselves. But they've got me intrigued, and you know you're going to get much the same from the... Is it the Coen brothers who do this? I want to say it's the Coen brothers.
I'm not sure. I still haven't dived into Stranger Things.
What?
Yeah, I know. I'm waiting for you to disown me. I did try and watch season 1, but many years ago.
Nah, man, get back from it. What are you doing?
I will try and revisit it.
I did think you were rather quiet when I was talking about Never-Ending Story duet. Smash your way through it, enjoy it. Even those who I know aren't a fan of horror, have watched it and loved it. So I wouldn't even say that it transcends as far as gore or horror. Watch it, Dan.
Is it? Because when I first tried to dive into it, it seemed like a bit of a slow burn. And I think that's probably why it sort of dropped off for me. So,
yeah, I think the original run was 9 episodes, 10 episodes, and it probably doesn't pick up until episode 6.
Okay.
It tends to give you kind of little bookmarks here and there about things that are going to happen, and it kicks up and really kicks off towards the final third. Season 2's bonkers because you've already had the build up. Season 3 just blows out the water. It's very, very good. So okay. I can't recommend it enough. That stars Winona Ryder again, David Harbour as the aforementioned Hopper, Finn Wolfhard, Millie Bobby Brown, Gaten Matarazzo, whatever. Gaten. Sorry, Gaten. Caleb McLaughlin, Noah Schnapp, Sadie Sink, Natalie Dyer, Charlie Heaton, Joe Keery, Maya Hawke, and Cara Buono. Now, I mentioned why I'm anticipating it, and I really can't wait. But they haven't told us a particular date as yet, I don't think. So watch this space. They usually do Halloweens. So the last couple of years they've done Halloweens, but I think they've missed the boat, so I think they're looking for spring this year. So watch this space. And Dan, get yourself onto Netflix, streaming the first 3 seasons, and report back to me when you've done it.
I will. I should trust you more because, you got me into Cobra Kai along with one of my friends, Leighton, who got involved for this episode. And I've no doubt that he'll be involved for the Cobra Kai episode as well. So
magic.
Yeah, I should really trust you, Alex. I will try and dive back into Stranger Things.
Start afresh, smash on through.
So again, I could have chosen the usual stuff to kick things off. Could have chosen Ms. Marvel or Moon Knight or She-Hulk, all MCU canon,
yeah,
all that stuff. But again, try to avoid the MCU. And I've chosen Manifest Season 4.
Oh, yes.
So if people recall, back in cancelled TV shows, I think I mentioned this was probably about to come to an end. It hadn't been picked up by NBC. But it's been rescued by Netflix. So it will be back for a 4th season. And an announcement was made at 8:28 a.m. on the 28th of August, 2021, which is a nod to the pivotal flight 828 in the series. Of course, I put the date in the American way, not the UK way, which is why I got a bit confused there. Well done, Dan. A nod to the pivotal flight 828 in the series, which returns with the passengers 5 years after taking off from Jamaica. And I'll tell you why I'm looking forward to this one. It's because when season 3 ended, it dropped on a massive cliffhanger. And of course, when I found it had been cancelled, I was gutted. But all the people that watched it and loved it took to Twitter and social media, save Manifest. And of course, Netflix has now rescued it. Almost all of the cast, including leads Josh Dallas and Melissa Roxburgh, are returning for the show's final chapter, possibly 2. We're not too sure yet. The renewal of Manifest marked as a stunning bout faced by Netflix, which initially declined to renew the series, as did the show's creators, NBC. But both were forced to reconsider after the addition of Manifest to Netflix, and it shattered US streaming records. So if you want to go check this out, I believe you can get it on Catch Up, on Sky, or alternatively, as I say, it's on Netflix. I don't know if season 3 is on there yet. Have you started watching Manifest yet, Alex?
I haven't. I didn't know that it was, and it's odd that we haven't talked about it because I know you love Manifest. I didn't know it was on Netflix because when we were talking about it, I don't know. I want to say late summer.
Yeah, it was about the summertime when we did cancel TV shows.
I think I looked at Prime and they were saying you had to buy it or you had to rent it. I didn't want to. Obviously, I'm tight. I think we've established that by now, listener. And I said, no, I'm not going to do that. But knowing now that it's on Netflix, I've now lost more hours of my day. So thanks very much.
Sorry about that. And so if you've got Sky as well, Alex, you can get it on the Sky Catch Up.
There we go.
So it's there as well. But again, I'm starting to ponder whether we've probably got some of the same things here. I've got a couple here that you might have picked up. But if not, I think there's probably some worthy mentions here. So what's your next one, Alex?
Yeah, left field. You probably won't have this one. The Sandman.
No.
Streamed on Netflix. The synopsis: since 1916, Morpheus, the king of dreams, and one of the 7 endless, is captured in an occult ritual. Those darn occult rituals. Now, being after held captive for 105 years, which is a significant amount of time, he escapes and sets out to restore order to his kingdom of the dreaming. Now, it stars Tom Sturridge, Gwendolyn Christie, Vivian Ashampong. And it's anticipated, Dan, because the series is based on the 89 to 96 comic book written by Neil Gaiman. and published by DC Comics. Now, if you're not familiar with Gaiman, Dan, he's a phenomenal novelist.
Yep, familiar with.
Okay, so for those who aren't, he tends to give spin on. I'm trying to think of the types of books. Old wives' tales or fairy tales. He makes them dark. He makes them edgy. He makes them modern. So Trolls Under Bridges. Well, he'll look at that storyline and make it quite sinister and dark for a modern audience, or The Wicked Witch or the Magical Mirror. He'll make modern takes on that, and it's quite edgy and quite dark, as I say. Now, the Sandman's been in production for quite a while. I've been keeping an eye on this one, and it should be quite good. And the reason why I think it should be good, Dan, because David S. Goyer is a supporting producer. Now, I'm not sure if you recognise the name or you remember the name flash up on TV screens, but for those of the initiated, is behind what I think one of my most favourite cancelled TV shows. Again, it's cropped up here, Flash Forward. So he's behind that. He's behind Constantine, behind Blade the series. And actually, when I've looked into what he's done, he's actually been on recent Call of Duty games and their storylines.
Oh, okay.
So this guy knows his stuff. So there's talent behind the producing. You've got the storyline by Neil Gaiman, and you're going to have the money and the production values of Netflix. I think this is a one to watch. I really do. So, The Sandman, it's on Netflix. I haven't got a date as yet. It is going to be this year, but I am looking forward to it, and it's been in the works for a while. So this one's gestating and ready to be set free. So I'm really looking forward to it, Dan.
Talking to Neil Gaiman, actually, he looks like he was involved in a few films. Stardust.
Yes, quality film. I love that film.
Good Omens. The series on, I think, on Amazon Prime at the moment. He also wrote some stuff for Marvel, apparently, which included The Eternals and Marvel 1602.
The guy has got an amazing imagination.
Yeah.
And if you like any of those, it is, as you say, Dan, he's got quite some credits behind him. So keep an eye out for that, because I think it's really going to take Netflix by storm.
My next choice is quite an obvious one, because we've always talked about it in the past, which is Umbrella Academy Season 3, due out on Netflix. Now, Netflix drops a bunch of new posters for the Sparrow Academy, which are going to be a rival posse of superheroes to the show's titular dysfunctional family. We don't have an official release date yet for Season 3, but what we do know, it is going to arrive this year. As revealed on the show's official Twitter account, the Umbrella Academy Season 3 will launch exclusively on Netflix. Netflix's live-action adaptation of Gerard Way and Gabrielle Barr's comics have already caught up with its source material, so much like Game of Thrones, they're now overlapping.
Stan?
Yeah?
Can I make a unpopular opinion?
Yeah, go for it.
I didn't really like Season 2.
Did you not?
No. I thought Season 1 had the right amount of dark humour and interesting different storylines to be able to keep me hooked. And then obviously at the end was a fantastic finale. Season 2 I thought was dull and boring. It did have some interesting storylines to tell, the late 50s, 60s era and the racism in America. And let's face it, across the world, and we're still having those stupid idiots today. So racism hasn't escaped us, of course, but it's a prominent storyline in the season. And I had some interesting things to discover and to talk about, but ultimately I just wasn't sold on the ending. I thought the first one had far more of an urgency compared to the second season. The only thing that really grasped me was the post-credits, which was the Sparrow Academy. Yeah. So I am looking forward to it, but that's off the back of what I thought was a bit of a mediocre Season 2.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed it. So me and the other half love Umbrella Academy. But as I mentioned, they've now caught up with the source material from the comic, so this could now go one of two ways, I think. So you could either deviate from what Gerard Way and and I said his name a second ago. Gabrielle Barr's plans for future entries in the graphic novels. Like I said, Game of Thrones did surpass George R.R. Martin's source material. Or they could stick to the blueprint that the Umbrella Academy's creators have for a 4th volume and any future books that they're working on. So I'm interested to see where they're going to take the Sparrow Academy.
So it's also the penny drops. Gerard Way is also the singer, isn't he?
He is. My Chemical Romance.
Yeah, he is. They've recently reformed, I believe, last year.
Yeah, they did.
Maybe that's why he hasn't got around to writing it, because he's busy doing some music. But yeah, it's interesting how different artists traverse the arts. Someone who's a singer has gone over to comic books.
I don't think he's the first singer to sort of deviate from music and into the comic book world, but I think that's something I'll have to look into for a future episode.
Niche. Yeah.
So yeah, that's my next one, and I've got 2 more after this.
I've got 2 and a couple of honourable mentions. This one's interesting from 2 perspectives. It's on Paramount Plus now. Over here, the Europeans. The backward Europeans, some might say, we don't have this. We're going to have it. And there's a big backlash for those who like Star Trek and know about this. Because the latest season, Star Trek Discovery Season 4, was Days Down, due to be released onto Netflix, because that's where it always has been for that series and Star Trek. And then Paramount, who own the rights to it and have got this streaming moolah, went, no, actually, we are going to put it on Paramount Plus. And all the US people went, well, not ideal, because I don't really want to buy a subscription to Paramount Plus, but fine, we've got it. All the other Europeans, and I guess the rest of Asia Pacific, said, where are we going to watch it? Because the rest of the world doesn't have Paramount Plus. But they're going to soon. In the next couple of months, Paramount Plus will right their wrongs and we'll get it for the rest of the world. And it might be in time for this next showdown. There's a reason why I'm saying this, by the way. Because this is going to be the Halo TV series.
Oh.
Released on Paramount Plus. So the synopsis is Halo sets an epic 26th century conflict between humanity and an alien threat known as the Covenant. Halo will weave deeply drawn personal stories with action, adventure, and a richly imagined vision of the future. Halo, of course, most of you will know, is based on a widely popular computer game, which was born out of the original Xbox in early 2000s, I think. They're on, I think, the 5th game or a version, the iteration of the game. There was a short TV show, I'm talking 12-minute episodes, about 8 episodes long, did about 10 years ago. And that was the first kind of foray from games to live action, and it was very relatively well received. This is a full-blown Halo TV show. So if you like your sci-fi, you like what should be quite a well-invested video game adaptation, this could be one to watch. Now, it does star some relatively known, and this is going to be unfair for me to say it out loud, but I'm going to say it anyway, D-list actors. So you may look at it and go, oh, I kind of recognise those. There's no one in there who's going to be putting the big bucks. But that's fine, because actually they can probably make their own. It stars Pablo Schreiber, Natasha McElhoney. I'm doing Dan here. Yaron Ha and a Charlie Murphy. Before I get cancelled, I'm going to stop there.
Been on the wine again, haven't you?
I know, mate. I know. I guess I'm anticipating it just because I love the games, and it is such a well-written and thought-out universe. It's not just the usual guy with a gun killing aliens. There is a rich backstory that's been well invested in over the last 20-odd years. As I say, the short mini-series was well done, and even then that just scratched the surface. So I'm really looking forward to this one. And hopefully by the time it's released, we have Paramount Plus out here in the rest of the world, and we can get to watch it. So that one is my penultimate one, and that is Halo.
Oh, that is a good shout. So my penultimate choice is The Mandalorian Season 3 for Disney+. Yes. Now, filming for the season began on October 13th, 2021, filming under the working title Buccaneer, with David Klein serving as the cinematographer. It had previously been expected to begin once filming for The Book of Boba Fett completed, which occurred in June 2021, but was unable to as Obi-Wan Kenobi was utilised in the Los Angeles sound stages. In July 2021, Esposito said the season would start filming soon and noted the production would not need to wait for Pascal to complete the filming of HBO series The Last of Us, since Din Djarin is often seen in his helmet. So they could basically utilise someone else and just dub over his voice. So good times. But I'm looking forward to this because I want to see where they take it now. Obviously the child is in Luke Skywalker's hands. What do they do with the Mandalorian? So that is my penultimate choice.
Good one. So continue my left field selections, Dan. I'm going to finish on Bel-Air.
Is this going to be like a Fresh Prince kind of thing? Or
yeah.
Okay.
So release date to be confirmed. Released on, and this is not well known outside of the US. So when I say this, I don't have any knowledge of the network or what it means. But apparently released on US Peacock.
Never heard of it.
Same. But anyway, I'm sure that it's going to be sub-sold out outside the US. Anyway, the synopsis is it's developed by Will Smith and Morgan Cooper, and it is a reboot and a dramatisation of the sitcom, the much-loved early 90s The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and it's based on Cooper's short fan film of the same name. I'll talk about that in a second. So it stars Jabari Banks, Adrian Holmes, Cassandra Freeman, and Ollie Shullerton. I don't know any of those guys, but I'm sure they're going to shoot to new stardom and heights when this is released. The reason why it's anticipated, Dan, is because I loved the Bel-Air, Fresh Prince Bel-Air. I don't know about you, but I think early 90s, there wasn't anything like that on TV. At least not on terrestrial TV, right? So it was shown on, when they had 5 channels up until 1996 in the UK. It was either cable or it was 6 channels. Now I was the latter. My family were tight and they never bought cable. They got Sky, I think from 97, 98 onwards. So when Fresh Prince came out, and this was on BBC Two, I think it was Tuesday evenings or something, I loved it. You never saw anything like that on TV. The comedy, the diversity, it was brilliant. And it's got a fun place, in my memories as I was growing up. And, Will Smith, it made his career. He's very good in it. So if you want to see, there might be some younger people of the audience. If you haven't seen this and you know who Will Smith is, sure, you must. If nothing else, because he cries every week on the round table with his wife where they overshare details of their marriage on YouTube. If you want to know more about him and where he's come from, watch it, because I think he still has relevance to some extent today. Yes, okay, they wear funny looking clothes and stuff, but it's such an interesting program and it goes for a couple of seasons. Anyway, the reason why I anticipate it is not just for that, but it's because apparently this mock trailer that was written before was uploaded to YouTube back in 2019, Dan. And I didn't know about this when I was reading up on it. And apparently it was a dramatic reimagining of Will Smith's version. Now, Will Smith saw it, loved that version, and heavily praised it to the point where he actually said he wanted to work on it if they ever got the green light to bring it to a reality TV show. Fast forward a couple of years, it's found a home. Will is now participating in developing it, and it's being given to a new audience, a new generation.
That's
trailer's
insane.
Out there. It is really, really good. So someone's actually gone out of their way to go, look, I'm going to do a reimagining, and Will's gone, yeah, that's decent. If someone who's lived and breathed that and actually started his career loves it, you're onto a strong thing. So we don't know when it's going to be. The trailer is out now, so I think it's going to be pretty imminent. If you have fond memories as I do, go have a look. It's on YouTube and the other streaming site. The trailer's out there. It looks quite good, and I'm sure it's going to be very, very enjoyable. That's Bel-Air, Dan. And again, a left field one. You probably weren't expecting it.
I wasn't.
Unless it's something fresh. Now I've got some honourable mentions before we hand back over to you for your final one. I could have had The Lord of the Rings, which is on Prime Video. That's in September. Big money for that. We're talking mega bucks, hundreds of millions of pounds gone into it. Hoping, of course, that Prime will get their money back. I'm sure they will. Obi-Wan Kenobi, Disney Plus. Again, we're waiting for dates on these. Miss Marvel and She-Hulk. So we've got a couple of ones that you would expect me to say, and they are my honourable mentions. But no, I thought I'd go left field this time.
Well, I've got another left field choice, and then I've got some which, according to Variety, we could have chosen.
Oh, yeah.
So my left field choice is His Dark Materials Season 3, which is coming out on BBC/HBO.
Yeah.
The BBC has confirmed that the final series will air this year, and that is unlikely to arrive until possibly autumn due to the extensive VFX required for the scale of this story.
Yeah.
The third run of the hit BBC HBO series will adapt the third novel in the book series of the same name by author Philip Pullman, The Amber Spyglass. Series 3 began production earlier in 2021, with star James McAvoy revealing in June that filming had begun again in Wales after some COVID-based delays. That goddamn COVID. So I'm anticipating this one because I loved the books. I read them while I was traveling back in 2008 when I was going across China, New Zealand, and Southeast Asia. So I think the series in general is phenomenal. So if you can pick it up on catch up and you like the books, it's worth watching, in my opinion. And even if you haven't read the books, just go watch it anyway. I think the storytelling is fantastic.
But read the books. The books are phenomenal.
Yeah. It's got Ruth Wilson in it, who was also in Luther. My missus already knows that I'm banging her off if Ruth ever comes into my life. So sorry about that. But according to Variety, Alex, we could have also chosen some of your honourable mentions. Obi-Wan Kenobi on Disney Plus, Lord of the Rings on Amazon, House of the Dragon on HBO, which is a Game of Thrones prequel. Peacemaker on HBO Max, which I think was a member of the latest Suicide Squad film. John Cena. Resident Evil on Netflix. Willow on Disney Plus, and The Witcher Blood Origin on Netflix. So those are some of those other choices we could have had, according to Variety.
Lovely.
I guess this is the bit where we move on to computer games.
Yes, mate.
To be honest, I've always decided that I'm not going to grow up, and computer games are life. So let's dive in. What's your first one, Alex?
Dan, Redfall. I talked about this. Why did I talk about this? E3. That's why I talked about it a couple of months ago. What is Redfall? Well, Redfall is an open-world action-adventure first-person shooter, with a mouthful there, that features both single-player and co-op multiplayer modes. Now, players can choose among 4 playable characters, each with unique backgrounds and abilities, to fight against vampires, as well as human enemies within the game. It was a very colourful, by the looks of it, very expensive CGI teaser trailer, showing people with different powers, protagonists fighting against very bad-looking vampires and human counterparts in a shootout on the streets of, I guess, an American town or city. The reason why I like it is because also it's been developed by Arcane Studios and published by Bethesda. You're in very safe hands with those two guys. They know their games. They've got some quality titles behind them. Now, the game is, though, unfortunately, guys, set just for Microsoft Windows and Xbox Series X or S. So that's as a result of Microsoft buying Bethesda middle of last year, I think. So I'm really looking forward to it. It looks like an interesting shooter, and it's a little bit different. That one's due out in the summer. They haven't been specific, but the summer of this year.
Oh, very good. So, I mean, not really a left field choice, but maybe a little bit, is Marvel's Midnight Suns.
Oh, yes.
Now, the problem is I don't ever really know what to expect from Marvel games anymore.
No.
Some are fantastic, like PS4, PS5 Spider-Man. Fantastic. Guardians of the Galaxy. But then some of them are absolute shite, like the Avengers. Sorry, it is genuinely crap.
It's garbage.
Yeah. But just sort of give you a bit of an idea of Marvel's Midnight Suns. It is a turn-based game focusing on tactics and incorporating a card battle system. You can develop relationships that affect the plot, a la Fire Emblem, which is another game. And the story leans into the weirder, more supernatural side of Marvel. A character called Hunter will join Marvel heroes, including Iron Man, Wolverine, and Blade. I think this comes out around March. Whether I'll pick up straight away or not, I don't know. I might wait until the price drops significantly before I decide to dive in. But that's the first one that sort of stood out to me a little bit.
Okay. Interesting stuff.
My
next one, I think we both ogled at this when it was announced quite some time ago now. But unfortunately, again, COVID put a halt to development. Gotham Knights, Dan.
Yes, I think we mentioned this in last year's most anticipated, but like I said, COVID sort of hindered it.
Yeah. So Gotham Knights is an open world action RPG set in the mostly dynamic and interactive Gotham City version yet. Either in the solo play or with one other hero in co-op. Patrol Gotham's 5 distinct boroughs and drop in on criminal activity wherever you find it. Now, this is done by WB Montreal, who I think did Batman Arkham Origins.
Yeah, so good.
I mean, the whole Arkham series is phenomenal.
Because you had Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, then Arkham Origins.
Yeah.
Played all three. So good.
100%. I think Montreal did Batman Arkham Origins, which is still good. So it's a good nod. I think extension of that universe, that version, and you can play different heroes: Red Hood, Nightwing, Batgirl, Batwoman, and Robin. So yeah, looking forward to it. Interested to see how that plays out in the co-op. I think would be a really interesting spin on things. We're waiting for the release date, as you say, Dan. We were talking about it this time last year, so let's see. But it is due out this year. If I'm a betting man, I think it'd probably be the autumn window.
Yeah,
autumn, Christmas. That's my second one.
Well, we're not far off from my second choice. Another DC game, Suicide Squad. Kill the Justice League.
I've got this down as well, Dan.
Have you? Good choice. Rocksteady, the studio behind, again, Batman Arkham, has turned its attention away from the Cape Crusader and onto the Suicide Squad. This includes Harley Quinn, King Shark, Deadshot, and Captain Boomerang in this iteration. Now, if you're unfamiliar of the plot, in a fun twist, the group of anti-heroes must battle brainwashed versions of Superman, Wonder Woman, and the rest of the Justice League. The game will be set in the so-called Arkhamverse and feature Batman villains from the previous Arkham games. And I'll tell you why I'm anticipating this the most. It's just a fun twist, isn't it? It's something different. Yeah. It's not your usual, I need to play as a hero again to save the world. This is literally, we've got to play as a villain this time to save the world from the heroes.
And it gives me vibes of Sunset Overdrive, which was a very bonkers game where effectively a whole city had been waylaid to monsters, and you're just bouncing around buildings and shooting things. It looks manic. So yeah, I've got this down for those reasons, because it looks new and different and fun.
So good choice. What's your next one, Alex?
Two more. Hogwarts Legacy, Dan.
Again, I think that appeared on most anticipated 2021.
Yeah. So what is it? Well, it's Hogwarts Legacy is an upcoming open world action role-playing video game, which is set in the late 1800s in the Wizarding world. So it's a different class, a different generation of students going to Hogwarts. Apparently, you can carve your own destiny for your own character. Ignoring the mobile games of similar ilk, you can, I think it's third person, follow your character around. You can participate in lessons, missions, put across obviously a very rich, diverse, magical world in which to play in, and carve out your own destiny. So it sounds quite interesting. Now, whether or not it will be as free as they suggest in terms of how you can develop your character remains to be seen. You've got to always be wary when they say that, it's an open world when actually really it's just a corridor shooter, but you don't really realize it because the corridor is so wide. But we'll see. But it's developed by, I don't really know too much about these guys, but Avalanche Software, and the release date is, as you say, to be confirmed because it was supposed to be last year. So I've been yearning for a modern Harry Potter game. It's not Harry Potter, it is Hogwarts Own Wizarding World. And it's not, thankfully, during the mid-1900s, which is, of course, Fantastic Beasts and Where Not to Find Them take place. So something new, I think something fun. So I'm looking forward to that, Dan.
I say a good shout. I say it came up last year, and I think the pandemic hit those guys as well as everyone else. But I'll be keeping my eyes peeled for that one. My last choice comes in the iteration of The Legend of Zelda. Although its current working title was Breath of the Wild 2, it is yet unnamed. The predecessor was perhaps the most influential, groundbreaking, and popular video game to debut in the last decade. Do I really need to pitch this to you? It picks up right where the last one left off. Oof. And the open world is even bigger. So you already know you're going to be buying this game if you're on a Switch, because I know I am. Very excited. So I still haven't finished Breath of the Wild 1. And to be honest, I don't even think I've touched every blade of grass on that game. It's just very immersive. It sort of takes me back to my childhood of, Ocarina of the Time. What a great game that was. You can get that on the Switch now. You have to buy a subscription, and you can sort of play some of the other games, but apparently it doesn't sort of play too well on modern tech, which is a shame. So I might have to pick up a second-hand N64 at some point.
Oh, don't bother, Dan. Mine's upstairs.
Is it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all packaged. It's not sealed, so there may be some dust damage. But I've got all my N64 games. I have about 30 of them. Quite a lot of money's worth there, actually, because each game was 50 quid.
Yeah.
Since today's money, that sounds really old now, but today's money is like 70 quid a game. They were quite expensive cartridges. They're all upstairs. So at some point, I'll dust it off. I'll get an RF box, and we can have a good old game.
Yeah, no, that sounds like fun. Let's do it.
My last one, Dan, Saints Row.
Ooh.
It's a reboot. So if you're saying, Alex, that's not a new game, well, this one is. It's an upcoming action-adventure game and reboot of the original series. Due out on all systems, that'll take it. Not too much about it, really. It tends to be seen as a tongue-in-cheek, doesn't take itself at all seriously alternative to GTA. It's a very similar gang warfare. You build up your empire, you get guns, you run around shooting, blowing stuff up. It's teenage boy humor. So I think there's probably at some point a dildo gun. And there's other things of that ilk. It doesn't take itself seriously. And it does get creative with different ways of laying waste to your enemies. I think it looks good. This looks like it's of that vein, but it's, again, more modern, bringing it more in line with what you'd expect from an open world shooter. I don't think it's going to be too true to its roots, but again, it's going to be a while before we see another GTA. So this might fill the gaps that many people are yearning, at least for a next or latest generation console. So interested to see how that one develops down. Again, we haven't got too much on it. It's done by Violation as developer, and it's scheduled for release in the summer, 23rd of August. So I'm looking forward to filling that GTA-sized hole with Saints Row once more.
Good shout. Neither of us mentioned GoldenEye 64, which is rumoured to be coming onto Xbox and Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, and I'm still sceptical. I know they've released you shared a link with me, didn't you, where they've released achievement lists for it.
Yeah.
And that tends to indicate a game's coming. I really hope it does. Other mentions we could have mentioned God of War Ragnarok.
Yeah.
It's on PlayStation. God of War was brilliant. Brilliant graphics, great voice acting, good storyline. Never finished it. I'm not a fan, Dan, of going back and retrace my steps in old levels. And that game does it, but at different. It's very difficult to describe, but you can do the same thing again, but it's a different world.
Okay.
So you're retracing your steps, but it's in a different version of that world because you're traversing the world tree. Anyway, God of War Ragnarok looks good. Might pick it up. These are two left fields. Honorable mentions: Starship Troopers Terran Command or Terminator Dark Fate Defiance. These are both real-time strategy, top-down, kind of like Command and Conquer.
Yeah,
kind of games, where you build an army, you're in the clouds and you command them across the map. Is that kind of thing. But Starship Troopers isn't really. It's pretty fertile ground. A really interesting late 90s sci-fi film.
Very gory.
Yeah, and you get some boobs in there as well, if I think, at the halfway mark as a teenage boy. I love that film for the wrong reasons. But hey, we're all friends and I can share that. But Starship Troopers, yeah, it hasn't really been well covered outside the films. So Terran Command, that's the 31st of March, not far off. And then, as I say, Terminator Dark Fate Defiance, that's to be confirmed, but that looks quite good as well. So they're both PC. So we got a bit of everything, I think, for listeners today.
Yeah, we did. According to time, we could have also chosen Dying Light 2, Stay Human.
Oh, yeah.
Gran Turismo 7, Starfield, and Pokemon Legends Arceus. So yeah. I obviously deleted the ones that we've already mentioned, but yeah, there we go.
You've got you covered.
I got a couple of music choices that I'm going to run through, and then what we could have chosen according to Kerrang. I'm always holding out for new music from natives who still haven't released anything since 2016, 2017, but they keep teasing their album of 20 odd tracks. Still waiting for that, unfortunately. This comes up in most anticipated every year. Come on, guys, get a move on. The Gospel Youth, of course, one of my favourite bands. Apparently they're up to something, but they've been very radio silent on the socials throughout the pandemic. But I do wonder, are they plotting some new music? And those Northerners, Hot Milk.
Yes.
They released an EP back in September, which is worth checking out. But apparently they've just finished their third EP and they've been pushing some musical boundaries again. So I'm looking forward to that one. Keep your eyes out for Alex Melton. I think you're familiar with him, aren't you, Alex? I've seen some of his covers. Basically rewriting the songs of our adolescence. I think this is probably going to be a big year for him. I know he's done an album. I'm looking forward to hearing that when that comes out. But I'd probably say they're more honourable mentions compared to the two that I'm going to be talking about. So first up is Blink 182, or 182 if you're over on the other side of the pond. Now, at the start of 2021, Travis Barker revealed that Blink were 60% done with a new record, adding that they had done some surprising collaborations with the likes of Grimes, Lil Uzi Vert, and Pharrell. Now, of course, things were put on hold when Mark Hoppus, he had to take his health into a lot of consideration. He was diagnosed with cancer, but he is cancer-free now, which is great news. But of course, we're hoping that album is going to get finished soon. For Mark's part, he's not ruling out anything, and that is including a reunion with Tom DeLonge. And he says this: "We haven't really talked about that, but I'm open to anything in the future," he told GQ. And of course, apparently, Matt Skiba, who took DeLonge's place, has recently said he hasn't ruled out working with Tom either. So, interesting times in the Blink-182 camp.
Yeah.
Now, my second choice is Death of Anna. So, of course, we talk about these guys a lot over previous episodes. Now, there's only two members remaining. So, intrigued to see where this goes. After almost calling it quits as a band, Def Havana are now back as a two-piece, and they're going to be bringing new music with them. So bassist Lee Wilson and drummer Tom Ogden have now left the band, leaving brothers James and Matthew Vec-Gilotti left on vocals and guitar duties. Now, in a statement, they said this: "We thought about starting something new as a duo, but they just felt like Def Havana songs. We didn't want the journey to end. It was time for it to go in a different direction. We are so proud of the music that we have been working on. The process felt natural and massively different to anything we've done before. We are feeling better than ever. This is the next chapter of Def Havana, and we can't wait to share this with you all." And, this goes without saying, I'm a big fan of James Vec-Gilotti as a songwriter and a lyricist. Go and check out their previous albums. Anything from Fools and Worthless Liars onwards, because I think the previous stuff was shit. It's all screamo. But each album has been something very different. So they're probably my biggest recommendation. And I'm looking forward to new music.
Yeah. And as you say, there's a couple of culprits who are quite absent. And every year we, or you, do identify them as perhaps needing to release some new stuff. So hopefully this will be the year.
Yeah. According to Crane, we could have also chosen Paramore, Avenged Sevenfold, Avril Lavigne, Slipknot, Billy Talent, Bring Me the Horizon, and Weezer. So there's new music coming from those.
Oh, wow.
But that's from the alternate scene. I don't really dive into the pop stuff that much. So my taste in music is very, very niche. It's just, as I say, when you sort of go back to the start of my music choices, Natives, The Gospel Youth, and Hot Milk are very left field if you haven't heard of them.
Mm-hmm. But they're really enjoyable. I think you got me into all of them, including Def Havana, which I do enjoy.
So we've got some stuff from the listener, Alex. We're sort of back to normal compared to 2021, where it was a little bit different from our listeners.
Yes.
We sort of shared, things that we were looking forward to coming out. Well, I say coming out of the pandemic, we're still in it, but I know a lot of people sort of fulfilled those dreams in the end. But yeah, back to normal. First up, we've got Leighton, who I mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm.
He's looking forward to concerts and theatre shows. So when I asked him what he was looking forward to in particular, he said Jerry Cinnamon in concert, Bedknobs and Broomsticks, and Commitment at the Grand Opera House Theatre, plus Paul Smith Comedian, all books for 2022.
All right.
Next up, we've got Rob. So his message comes in two parts. Maybe a little bit oversharing, but being able to go for a shit in a public bog without having to wear a mask. But he says, all joking aside, Fantastic Beasts, The Secrets of Dumbledore.
Said no one ever. Let's
see how well Mads Mikkelsen fills Johnny Depp's shoes in Grindelwald.
Yeah, I don't think that's one. I think we'll leave the review up to him this time around. Dan, are you a public pooer?
Depends where I am. I had to go for one in the cinema last week.
No.
Yeah.
During the film?
No. This is like pre-film. I'd just been to Nando's, so the hot sauce was overworking.
Oh, wow.
But again, that's me oversharing now.
That's interesting.
What about you? Are you a public pooer?
And who thought our evening would take a turn in this direction? I guess if you have to. I know some people say no chance and they'll hold it, or they prefer to shit themselves if they have to. My opinion is, if it's there, you got to do it. Then you've got to partake. They're not nicer places, and nor does a person tend to go unless they really need to. But you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
But I understand. Yeah, it's not nice sitting on a throne with a hot, sweaty mask on at the best of times. So I can totally empathise.
Regarding to Fantastic Beasts, I don't think it's something we'll either, waste money on in the cinema. I think I'll wait until it leaks, or there's a dodgy copy out there. But yeah, it's not worth my £5, I'm afraid. Next up, we've got Dan onto the gaming front. He says Starfield still has a 2022 release date. I cannot wait to get my hands on that game. So this is from the makers of The Elder Scrolls,
Yes.
and what's the other one I'm thinking of? The Toxic Wastelands and robotic suits.
Oh yeah. I can't recall, but yes, it's about 18 months ago. It was released 2 years, wasn't it?
Yeah, I did get into that. I bought it and I got bored. It didn't really sort of fulfill my gaming needs, say compared to Skyrim, which I absolutely loved. But yeah, Starfield, I think we mentioned in our E3 episode.
Yeah.
Next up, we've got Natalie. She says Lord of the Rings TV series and the Game of Thrones prequel, which we talked about earlier. Next up, we've got the Lord of the Swines podcast. They said, we are definitely looking forward to Lightyear. The Lords did an episode on this topic that dropped a little over a week ago. Check it out if you're interested. I mean, when we got that message, it was, I think, last year. So unfortunately, it wasn't about a week ago, but
It's all relative. Time's relative, Dan.
yeah, absolutely. Next up, we got Chris. He says, I'm looking forward to the new Scream film. I think there's going to be a big twist. Not for me, Scream, but as far as I'm aware, Alex, it's getting some rave reviews.
Yeah, I've heard this.
So maybe one to keep your eyes peeled on or out for if you're into horror. We've got our friend Joey, aka Morbid Mundane. He got involved.
Shout out, Joey.
I need to ask you a question in a second on this first bit. The arrival of Joey Jr., aka Jay Diller, aka Fetal Juice 3000. Alex, as a father yourself, because I can't comment, where do you stand on calling an unborn child fetal juice?
It tends to be quite frowned upon. Is he going to have a little one? Is he?
Yeah, we've got
amazing.
Morbid and Mundane Junior due this year.
Oh, cool! That's so cool. That's really good news. Yeah. It's not something I'd let social services hear if that's what you're asking, Dan. It tends to be frowned upon, but we know Joey, and we know his sense of humor and his brand, so it's definitely on point.
Yeah, I mean, he did add to that as well, so he's looking forward to Uncharted the movie. Like myself, the new Death of Vanna album, catching up with us, and more ridiculous WWF memoirs of a geisha. I don't know what of a geisha means, but again, that's Joey's sense of humor.
No. Memoirs of a geisha. So geisha is. Have you not heard of a geisha, Dan?
No.
It's a very famous novel, late 90s, and it's effectively following the. I'm trying to think of the best way to describe it without knowing too much about the content. So geishas they weren't prostitutes in feudal or early Japan, but they were more, even like they were kept women who I think could be used for sexual entertainment and the likes, but they were more high class. I'm really doing it a disservice because there's nothing really in Western culture that has this. But they weren't seen as the low of the low. They were quite revered, and it was seen as quite a prestigious job to have in society. Anyway, and it's all about how you get into it, what you have to do, and how well respected it is. And it's a really interesting to read up on. So if you don't know anything about the geishas, then just give it a quick Google search because it is fascinating, and it is quite a famous book. So it sounds like it's going to be an adaptation, and that might be quite interesting. So no, it's legitimate bona fide thing, Dan.
Okay. I'll have to have a look at that in a minute. Don't say we don't educate you.
No.
When we talk about WWF, we're obviously talking about wrestling. So WWE now
Wildlife Fund.
Yeah. So we're talking about wrestling, and every now and again we like to reminisce about the 90s and sort of early noughties of that era. Some ridiculous things happened. I mean, it's not the same anymore. It's just shit. I'm afraid it doesn't have like the Rock, Stone Cold, all the blood and swearing and bras and panty matches. Just it's none of that anymore. It's very PG. So we like talking about that and sharing our memories of that era. Next up, we got Gemma. She says she's looking forward to the Harry Potter Studios, Matilda on Broadway, our music festival in Portsmouth, Alex, Victorious, completing the first 11 months of my social work course. Good luck with that, Gemma. You'll be a fantastic social worker. I genuinely believe you'll do really well at this.
Amazing.
The birth of my best friend's child, and hopefully COVID doing one. We can all but
Sounds
hope.
all good to me. Yeah.
We can all but hope. And last but not least, we've got Kelly. She says, the new Dark Pictures anthology game, The Devil in Me, is based on H.H. Holmes' America's First Serial Killer. The Dark Pictures games are my favourite because I am shit at games and I can actually play and enjoy these. Great stories to them all too. And obviously the new Scream film, which is this month, I believe. And you are correct. As I say, it's getting some rave reviews, as I mentioned earlier when we talked about Chris's submission. But that is another most anticipated for another year. And it's always a ding-dang delight sharing what we're looking forward to. And it gives me ray of hope and sunshine for the upcoming year.
I think there is lots to look forward to. And I think mark your calendars, because I think there's plenty coming over the coming weeks and months that can entertain you, the listener. And of course, we'll be there alongside it. So we've got plenty coming up in the coming months. But without this show, it wouldn't be anything without you. So get in contact with anything that you want us to cover during the course this year. TV shows, films. We've got other episodes where we look at common conspiracy theories, Mandela effect, favorite children's TV shows, whatever it is. Get in contact, let us know, because we'll be more than happy to research and to perhaps even have you on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if there's some previous episodes where we've maybe slapped a volume 1 on it and you want to do a volume 2, yeah, just let us know.
Yeah, that's a good shout.
But we've got some good stuff coming up, Alex. So, I mean, we put this on social media and we've delivered everything so far. So you had your Christmas episode, which was the Die Hard review. We did our Christmas Day message.
We did.
We've done the Spider-Man No Way Home. But next we've got Hawkeye review. So we finished that just before Christmas.
We did.
So we'll be talking about that and breaking that down, some delicious Easter eggs, and Cobra Kai season 4. So you're just about to finish that, aren't you, Alex?
Near the end, and it's getting good. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that, because I thought season 4 was the end, Dan. So I'm interested to see that there's a season, or here's a season 5. So I'll smash those episodes with much anticipation.
I am genuinely excited for you to see the final episode, and I want your thoughts.
Can't wait.
I can't wait for you to watch it. So I can't wait to hear your thoughts. Genuinely can't. So good. So good. But if you want to get involved, that was quite a deep inhale of breath because I'm running out of oxygen. Not for any purpose, just talking too much. If you want to get involved, we are on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at On The Topic Pod. If you want to email us, we are on the topic podcast at gmail.com. And then, Alex, we've got WordPress.
Yeah, all you got to do is search for us on the topic podcast, all one word, all lowercase, .wordpress.com. That's our website. So go over there, have a look. We've got our ugly mugs. We've got descriptions of what we do and what we look like. Links to the aforementioned Joey from Morbid and Mundane, who do our threads, and lots more. And on there, if you don't have a particular podcast provider or streaming service, you can listen to our whole back catalogue on there as well. So go have a look, take your time, and enjoy the website. It's there for you.
Definitely. And if you follow any of those socials, there's usually a link in the posts that I put on there that will take you through to Anchor, and you can leave us a voice message and be a part of the show like some of our previous listeners. Very good stuff. But for another week and for another year, I've been most anticipating. I've been Dan.
And I've been Alex.
And we'll see you next time.